you need is right here. All of your problems, yes, I'm aware. For all of you who don't follow me on Facebook, you missed something very interesting this weekend. On Sunday, I dressed up in a pink velour sweatsuit and a wig, the hoodie on. And I walked around holding a sign that said, "Now I'm afraid of KKK and niggas." And yesterday or Monday, I went back and I followed that up with a video explaining why I choose the antics that I choose. And I also explained that in the future, there will be a lot more of me being seen. And this is the beginning of that. Um, the responses that I received was interesting because there were a lot of white people and they really embraced the message that was being displayed on the sign. And some of them talked to me and some of them came up and gave me hugs. And, you know, it was well received and I appreciate that. Uh, I kind of felt like this would be a little dangerous depending on where I was, but that's beside the fact. Their job was done. What has been interesting though is the outpouring of responses that I received from the black community. There evidently are a lot of black people who want to make sure that I pass on the lesson that, you know, niggas and niggas, they want to be niggas, but all niggas ain't black. And it kind of takes me back to something that my grandfather used to say that I added on to later that, it makes a big difference in my life. And he said, all niggas ain't black, all blacks ain't niggas, but all niggas ain't shit. And, you know, it takes us into something that, I call negative, which is the institution wherein, people choose to intentionally live as second class citizens in America, prioritizing exerting as little effort as possible to take care of themselves and those they are responsible for. They are focused primarily on self medication and make it appear as though they have more wealth than they actually do, which makes them financially irresponsible. This is what, I called negative. It is a phrase that I came up with from stealing the phrase that Cat Williams coined, niggerdom. But I can't use niggerdom because if I use niggerdom, white people would never be able to say the word. So, I use niggerdom as a way to define a particular aspect of culture that anybody can say because it's a word I made up. Now, uh, back to the responses that I've been receiving from the black audience. They wanted to make it known that there are ways to differentiate between black people and niggas. So, this is information that I'm distributing for the welfare of those people who never had the opportunity to personally interact with black people. And their only input about black people and black culture comes from the media industry, which, does it best to paint us out as criminals and, low lives and, everything else. So, uh, that being said, I'm going to get into this. I don't have a lot of time here, so I'm not going to name all the reasons. I'm just going to read off the first 10 from the list that I've been able to gather from what people have said to me. So, uh, with that being said, I guess I'm going to name this segment, uh, You Might Be the N Word, because if the things that I'm describing here describe you, then you might be the N word. And for all those white people out there who don't know the difference between, black folks and niggas, this will help you to be able to differentiate so that you can treat black people better And niggas, I don't care how you treat me. Okay, here we go. All right. Number one, let's see. If you think being black makes you an N-word, then you might be the N-word. And, of course, I totally agree. I wouldn't have written any of these down if I didn't agree. So if anybody has any questions whether or not I'm doing unbiased reporting, I am, but I do agree with these statements, so I wouldn't be making them. Just make that clear. Okay, if your back pockets are closer to your knees than your back, then you might be the N-word. If your car stereo is worth more than your car, then you might be the N-word. If you buy Jordans while receiving food stamps, you might be the N-word. If your car looks better than the inside of your house, you might be the N-word. If you blame the president for your being poor, you might be the N-word. If the rent for your TV is higher than for your apartment, then you might be the N-word. If your utilities are in someone else's name, you might be the N-word. If your hair weave costs more than your rent or the amount of money that you have saved, you might be the N-word. Now, this list goes on. I have a few pages, but I'm just going to stop right there. Um, you know, a lot of people think that I intend to make fun of black people, and that is not the case. You know, Jesus said, the sick need the physician, the healthy don't. Of course, I paraphrase that, but, you know, my job here is to make black people understand that we need to change. And, in order to make some people understand that they need to change, it is necessary to point out to them and make them understand that there is something wrong in the first place. Because unfortunately, when people grow up becoming part of their environments, especially in debilitating environments, they are comfortable with who they are and they do not believe they need to change. And some of them aren't even aware of the possibility that they can change. And I have this discussion a lot with people who don't understand the conditions in, poor black America. But the truth of it is, if there's no one to teach you how to succeed, chances are you won't know how to succeed. And with that, I'll close. Black people, I love you. I know I'm hard, but it is what it is.